Welcome to Komodo Metaverse Discussions, a podcast about crypto and blockchain and Komodo platform technologies and relationships. That's where we bring in the human powers, engineering and building solutions, a process of partnership, collaboration, and mutual benefit. Greetings, I'm E. Giuliano, and today we're talking with Dr. Cetiner, professor of the Marmara University in Turkey, and an originator of the Marmara Credit Loops independent chain built from Komodo Tech. He and JL777 co-authored a paper about this digital solution to the analog P2P credit creation. So if you haven't read that one, be sure to take a look. The link will be in the description below. And go ahead and click the like button. Thanks as always for commenting, and share this video to help inform everyone about the Komodo Metaverse. So hello, Dr. Cetiner. Thank you for being here. How are you today?
Hello, thank you very much. How about you?
Very good. Let's get right into it. What is MCL chain, and what is the problem that it solves? We mentioned about the peer-to-peer credit creation. There is an analog version in Turkey and in other places in the world where people use post-dated checks. So maybe you can briefly get into what is MCL chain and the problem that it solves.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Marmara Credit Loops, thanks to Komodo Platform Technologies and JL777, who is co-founder of us. We are proud of being part of Komodo platform, where we have many decentralized good solutions. Actually, when our inspiration came from the alternative to banking creation of money, where we were actually searching a solution because banks create money out of nothing. And out of that, they earn interest. And this is not just, we believe. Why we search, actually, we found that solution within our business world, in Turkey, in India, and in many parts of the world. So throughout several workshops in the university with our Open Innovation Laboratory, we try to solve the problem actually with many platforms. Not many. The first one, smart contracting system with the Ethereum, and we said, okay, we cannot solve it, and people came from that. Then while we are searching, actually, we explained the idea of analog blockchain of post-dated checks in Turkey, which is around 300 billion USD. In India, for example, 600 billion USD. It is working very well. It is trust-based system, and it happens in the economy, in real economy, during shopping. Of course, this is very nice, especially with adoption of cryptocurrencies in the real world. We said what cryptocurrency world or blockchain world needs is, a credit creation, because mining and other issues, okay, we know very well now those things, but credit creation is the real function of banking, where most of the majority of work with that. So we said, okay, what is the biggest problem in that? We had identified several problems. The biggest problem is non-redemption with those analog blockchain of post-dated checks. By the way, post-dated checks, we have two protocols, Protocol 1 and Protocol 2. Credit creation, especially with Protocol 2. We have inspiration from Ireland. People can make a research on that, on Google, saying that, banking crisis, Irish banking crisis in 1970. They will find that between 1966 and 76, there are so many bank strikes, banking crisis in Ireland. In one case, for example, the banks were closed for 6 months continuously.
Wow.
That means without any bank, people had something, you know. What happened to economy? Economy did very well. We look at the articles. What they actually, they discovered, or they also not discovered, perhaps, discovered, because it is not invention. It is belonging to 5,000 year history, you know, as Daniel said in 5,000 Depth in his book, famous book.
Yes.
You know, there's 5,000 years Depth book. So in that they used those checks, actually, like post-dated checks, in their districts, in neighborhood. They were issuing the credits, and they are like, of course, used as money. For example, I don't have money. There's no liquidation. There is no bank. No.
So they created their own
money.
credit.
Yeah, they created their own credits, and at the same time money without interest, of course.
It was based on what, though? What was it based on?
Yeah, it is a trust-based system where, for example, I go to a district and I sell some items, and somebody, for example, you are in a district, you are the leader of the district, for example, and somebody, John, for example, from your district, wants to pay with the money he creates. So I say, okay, can I take the credit from this? It is trust-based. And you say, okay, this is a nice person, as our district, you know, we are guarantor for that. So I just simply give my stuff there, sell it, and then I take that slip. It is on the paper, analog blockchain. I take it, and like Town Story we did before, you know. I just endorse it to other people to buy stuff. And it keeps circulating in the economy.
It's the same amount of money, just keeps circulating, and people keep endorsing it to each other until finally somebody has to pay and settle the credit. That's
exactly. If there is settlement at that, it's finished. There is no problem. The problem, actually, it works very similar to banking system, where banks create money out of nothing, just on the electronic records. But the difference, the banks actually suck us, you know, because they get interest for that creation. But in that place, people in analog blockchain, for example, in Turkey, in India, people do not charge interest. There is no cost for credits. Why should we have costs, you know, and why should we allow banks to suck us for the credits that we can create?
Right.
So it happens in real economy.
So that's, yeah, it's definitely a real economy problem, and it solves the problem of trust. The book you were mentioning is by David Graeber, The Debt, the First 5,000 Years. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so, but basically the idea that you're mentioning here, the problem that MCL is solving is that it actually provides a solution for creating credit and circulating that credit while rewarding. So you might get into this detail, though, because that's one. And the next question is going to be, what's the version 1 and the version 2 protocols? And that's where you get into a distinction between the version 1 protocol is fully collateralized, whereas the version 2 protocol is not fully collateralized. Or maybe you'll get into it, but it offers a 3x staking loop as well, because it involves time locking. Maybe that's the difference. What is the difference between the version 1 and version 2 protocols? What did you want to say about that?
Yeah, thanks. First of all, we said the greatest problem with those analog, blockchain credits, P2P credits, we have discovered that we have several, but the biggest one is non-redemption problem. So we said, we should focus on that. The other problem is like divisibility. We can solve it. We solve it without problem, because on analog blockchain, approved by the banks, you have to pay for the slip. For every slip, you have to pay some blockage value. Where on the blockchain, you don't need to pay for it. So this is free, almost free. We said, okay, we have discussed a lot with a Komodo leader, and of course with other people on Marmara community, in Marmara community. So we said we need to have, first of all, two protocols. One protocol is immediate solution to show as a real, use case to people that we can have this analog, papers on the blockchain. So we said, how can we do that? On trustless manner, this is very easy. So with especially Komodo technologies, we said, if you have fully collateralization when you are buying, it is very easy. So what is incentive for that? We said we should reward buyers and sellers with 3x staking. So on Marmara chain, we have 75% staking, and in that part, 3x staking is for buyers and sellers.
That's so in version 1?
Yeah, version 1. This is the version 1.
And so in version 1, you solve the problem of non-redemption because automatically, like right away, it's collateralized. So you can't, it's impossible to not redeem. Okay.
Exactly. So this is the thing. We said when we have our discussions, especially with Jamie, he did actually the first POC himself, and I saw how ingenious guy he is in coding and in understanding systems. Really, in blockchain.
Right on. You said he understood the problem of the credit loops right away. But anyway, so yeah, so that's good. And
in Turkey, people really say that is James Satoshi or anyway.
Anyway, so yeah, so then
he's ingenious. Thanks for it.
Good stuff. Yeah, we love it. So and then the version 2 protocol is the one that has 3x staking, or version 1 also has 3x staking?
Yes, both of them actually have in MCL, 75% has staking. Anyone, sellers or buyers, can participate in the 3x staking.
Yeah, we're going to get to that too. Yeah, good.
Yeah, the difference is that in protocol 2, because we have in the current analog blockchains, we don't have, in some cases, for some, we have only 10%, sometimes 5%, but in many cases, 0% collateralization. It is based on trust.
Yeah.
So we made a lot of discussions in our community, and our main aim, of course, is to replace the banks with some trust-based bodies. And we said this could be we need, because if you look at the Irish case, it was districts, as
you were talking about these before. You called them OBAs, OBA.
Yes,
OBA.
Yes, OBA. OBA is an eco village. We tried to actually make an OBA movement, and for most of the OBAs, because OBAs, or let me say, the districts, or
it's like a community, right? It's basically
community.
Actually, it's a community. It's an economy. Exactly. Really, it's an economy, but a very local or smaller knit economy. It's not a huge city. It could be. I'm sure that a city could be considered an OBA, right? New York is an OBA of itself, right? Is that what you're saying too?
Exactly. It might be.
But in this case, for these peer-to-peer credit creations and running DeFi in the real economy from Marmara chain, we're talking about smaller situations between people. Maybe it's still thousands of 1,000 people, whatever it is, but it's not a huge thing yet.
An OBA or escrow, we call it escrow in protocol 2. A credit, under collateralized credit starts actually from the OBA or from decentralized bodies.
OBA, sorry to cut you off there. So the OBA is the escrow. They're like basically the same idea. They have the same function. I see. So an OBA isn't just everybody in the community. The OBA is like the financial creditor or something like that, where they actually, the OBA is going to allow the trust to happen because it will be the last resort. It'll settle whatever is non-redeemed. It will be there to settle it. Is that correct?
Exactly. They might be even some central exchanges now. There are many, for example.
So a centralized exchange or other financial institution can act as
other financial institutions. Like credit unions, cooperatives, for example. Anybody's, any institutions might be in escrow position. when we want to have an issue of, for example, issuance of a credit in Protocol 2, it must be approved by that financial body. Of course, they can have other collateralization like their cars or their houses. We don't look at that, but we just say that there must be some institution. Of course, we are replacing the banks in that case. Instead of banks, any in a decentralized manner, in any law, because in banking, actually, when we established, first of all, the requirements for the Protocol 2, there were some bankers, I mean, with the bankers, in Turkish community, some, they call it not exactly banks, like they call it Islamic banks or other, this kind of interest-free banks,
Right.
Some of them approached to us if they can do that, and they understood that they cannot do that. Why? Because of the central regulations.
Oh.
So in our case, we don't look at central regulations. Therefore, we said we should completely ignore the banking institutions there, because banking institution is a central body. Although
Right.
they have many branches, we cannot consider them decentralized bodies.
So you need other people to come in and become the OBAs. And then also what happens in version 2 protocol is that there's a time locking that happens, so that it's stuck in the credit loop for an amount of time before it needs to be settled. And then what else? Also, you can mention how it's good for the buyer and the seller as well, right? In version 1 and version 2, or is version 2 a bit more special?
Actually, in both versions, if somebody puts some collaterals in on Marmara chain, they immediately participate in 3x staking.
Okay.
How does it happen in Protocol 2? Because there are some avals, the word aval comes from French, I think. They are the supporters or guarantors. If the debt is not paid, cannot be paid by the issuer, they are participating in the debt settlement. So if anybody, like issuer also, has, for example, 10%, of course, they must have 10% at this collateralization, either by the escrow or by the issuer. They will put it as MCL on Marmara chain, and they will immediately participate in 3x staking. When those digital credits, like analog blockchain, they circulate endorsed by people, they will put, this is in our community, we have discussed the common idea to add 10% collateralization at each node, which makes it, pretty guaranteed system. Why? It's self-assured system. Why? Because if you have 10 nodes, for example, if you include like
so 10 transactions, there's 10 transactions in the loop.
In credit loops, when they're endorsed 10 times, if MCL price is same, for example, it will be 100% collateralized. If there are 20, for example, it will be 20. Of course, what is that? They participate in 3x staking. So we have in both versions.
Okay, so who's participating in the 3x staking? It's whoever in it. Okay, I think what will help, and we're going to need a part 2 on this one, where we'll talk about coin emission. We'll talk a bit more about the staking and proof of work, proof of stake, and then we'll talk a bit more about transitioning atomic DEX, whatever. But I just want to make this clear here so that we can understand. In version 1, whomever is putting up the collateral, they're putting it up right away, and so it's there. It's clear for settlement whenever the settlement needs to take place. And in the meantime, so use the example of 5,000. Of 10,000. So then 5,000 would go to the person who put it in. 5,000 would go to the seller, because this is in a real economy. You're changing a good or a service, and so half and half would go to each party, the buyer and the seller. So the buyer, the originator, who wants to get in on this exchange, they they hold on to that half the whole time, and they earn 3x staking. Is that correct?
Exactly. Very well.
And then the
You understood very
seller,
well.
the seller
Yes.
of the service, the seller or the service or the product, they also keep half. So in this case, it would be the other 5,000, and they earn 3x staking. But when they want to buy something and they want to use this credit loop to buy something, let's say for the same amount or whatever it's going to be, however it gets divided, then they pass on that credit loop and the 3x staking. Like what they keep whatever they staked for then. But then once they use that credit loop, it's a way they don't have it anymore, and they whoever now takes control of the credit loop, they will earn the 3x staking. That's correct. That's
exactly.
on version 1.
Exactly.
And version 2 is a bit. Sorry, go on. Yeah, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say this about version 1. It is a consumer-based system. It is actually, pushing, we can say, or enforcing a purchasing power. Why? Because if it is 1 year credit in a loop, for example, like 10,000 MCL, I buy a PC from you with 10,000. It is simply to 5,000 works for me, 5,000 works for you to get the rewards in participation in 3x staking. Right. When you transfer that one, you transfer your 3x staking participation to a new seller. As you perfectly said, it is actually 3x staking power is shared between, we can say, between two. The first one is issuer always until end of maturity, and second, the last seller. So the rewards are, shared between the first issuer and last seller. Of course, there may be 1,000 nodes, for example.
So yeah, you said maximum is 1,000 nodes, right? It can pass around 1,000 times. Okay, cool. And then in version 2, it's different because, well, you had mentioned that there's the possibility of each subsequent seller to put down, or you mentioned that maybe it was the buyer that puts down 10%, let's say, or a certain percentage each time, and then over a certain number of nodes or a certain number of exchanges, you would end up fully collateralizing the credit. Yes. The other option, though, was that if the original person can't pay off that credit, what they owe, then the OBA or the escrow is the one that ends up paying it. And in this way, you can have like a manual settlement, or you could have an automatic settlement. And the manual settlement would be for sometimes like you mentioned earlier, if they can't pay with their let's say it's they borrowed USD, or they used USD as the credit. If they can't pay with the USD, but they have a car that's equivalent, and the OBA says, okay, yeah, we'll take the car, and then they manually settle and say, yep, it's been settled. The other option is automatic settlement, and that's when people are using MCL, because with the MCL, it can just be automatically settled through the blockchain protocols. Is that correct?
Exactly. Actually, this flexibility, requirement directly came from many business people when we made actually our workshops in the university within Open Innovation Lab.
Amazing.
There is, the business people might even have sometimes, because this is trust-based system, they don't want other people to die, Therefore, they, in many cases, for some, if you start with USD credits as a creation of, protocol 2, people at that might say, okay, I don't require USD because they cannot find that at that time after 1 year or 2 years. We don't know, for example, any of fiat currency may be having problem. You have three years for some credit. You have created the credit in, let me say, Bolivia money or Turkish money. There is no, for example, that money, or because of the inflation, people do not like that. So at the end, actually, the settlement, manual settlement, is very flexible process. And it is like in Irish cases, it just, because escrow is responsible, is like what we call, it's between them, works as a settlement body. So and then what happens? The last holder, when he says, okay, I am paid, that record is going in onto Marmara chain. So it might be in any terms, you know. The person might be saying,
it's
I
flexible.
don't have money. I don't, Giuliano, I don't have money, but I have this ability. Can I work in your field for 1 month to pay? You say, okay.
Understood. Yeah, that's good. So that allows the manual settlement, and that makes it very flexible. And again, that's why I respect it so much. I love it because it really is made for the real economy, and it can solve day-to-day, you know, economic activity. And an economy really is the people that are, you know, working together to provide goods and services. And so the other thing that, because we're going to finish this off, but we're going to come back with a part 2. I wanted to also mention that it's just really nice to hear that you've had workshops and interacting with the real economic actors, like the businesses and other things that you mentioned. It's incredible. And so that just shows to me that Marmara Credit Loops MCL chain is on the right track. So thank you very much, Dr. Cetiner, for this discussion. We're going to come back with a part 2 because we want to know more about the emission, coin emission, and all the proof of work, proof of stake, and we'll hear more about that. So until next time, everyone, thanks for listening. We hope this has been informative, entertaining, and we will talk to you again on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.